Hell yeah.
AJ, I want to welcome you to Backstory Sessions. It's really quite an honor to have you as our guest today.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. I've fallen in love with this town already. I never want to leave.
Well, you're certainly welcome to stay. I'm going to just go ahead and speak for Corbin and say that you can stay as long as you want.
Mm.
So, from your accent, I'm guessing you did not grow up in Corbin. So, let's get a little bit of your backstory. Where is home? Like where?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
been funny actually because one of the recurring jokes has been people like, "Oh, you don't sound like you're from here. Are you from Tennessee or are you from Maryland?" Kind of been a bit of a running gag in the town. So I think that's pretty funny. I'm actually originally from Australia, from Sydney. I actually used to be the host of The Biggest Loser in Australia, and the reason I became the host of The Biggest Loser Australia is because I was an author and I wrote a book. Basically, I had struggled with my weight my entire life, and I happened to kind of film my weight loss, and I kept a diary of it, which became a bestseller, like literally an overnight crazy bestseller. It was called Confessions of a Reformed Dieter. And it was just a very real, raw journey of what it's like to try to lose weight and learn to love yourself along the way. And so when Biggest Loser came to town, they were like, we want somebody who's walked the walk. Do you want to be the host? And I was like, sure, why not? And did that for 4 years. And then I actually walked the Great Wall of China with Olivia Newton-John and Lisa Gibbons and Joan Rivers and a bunch of celebrities to raise money for a cancer wellness center. And Lisa kind of adopted me and was like, hey, you should come to America. They'd love you. And I ended up getting offered a TV show. So I came to America to host a show called Celebrity Fit Club. But unfortunately, my visa did not come through in time. And I lost the job, but I'd already moved to America. And so I ended up here. And then some friends of mine were like, hey, you should get into casting TV. You'd be really good at it. And I loved it. And I was really good at it. Turns out, thankfully, I was good at it. And I've cast a bunch of shows, including Dance Moms, Naked and Afraid, Gordon Ramsay shows. I mean, you name it. There's a really popular show on ABC called The Great Christmas Light Fight, which showcases some of the best Christmas displays around America. I've cast that amongst many, many other shows. And now I'm here in Corbin casting another one.
Yes, and that's what we definitely want to talk about today. But I'm curious, what skill set is needed, in your opinion, to be good at casting? Because, that's probably something we don't often think about. Like, I know with interviewing, it's usually the director or the producer or the actor, or, I think you're the first from casting. So, what skill do you have that makes you good at that?
Yeah, I think for the shows that I cast a lot of reality shows and I also cast kind of difficult reality shows, Naked and Afraid, Outlast on Netflix. They're very big survival shows. And, you got to find people with these incredible skills who could go out and live in the wild and survive and thrive, and literally risk their lives. So research is like the absolute basis, right? It's kind of where it all starts, being able to research, being able to do deep dives in the internet and get into communities and have people know you and trust you. And then being a people person and being inquisitive, and being a good storyteller, even in reality TV. You got to find people with compelling stories, people that other people relate to, people that want to watch people on TV. And that's kind of having a good radar of what a good story is. And then being able to talk to people and get their story. And I love a chat. I always got in trouble at school for talking too much. Now I get paid to talk too much. So, who's the winner now? But yeah, I think it's really just being really inquiring, have an inquiring mind.
So it sounds like you've always had that, and now you're getting paid, as you said, to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, how did you get to Corbin? Why is Corbin in all of your research, of all the places that you could be? What was it about Corbin that you found to be the place to come?
So ironically, I came in very late in this particular process. So I was in San Diego last week and I got a call and said, "Hey, will you come to Corbin and what's called recruit in this town, which is a different form of casting. It's on the grounds. It's kind of old school casting. It's what they did before they had the internet. But what I do know is the production company looked at a bunch of different towns that all had kind of a certain socioeconomic level, a certain health statistics. I think, there's a 48% obesity epidemic. I mean, across America, you can throw a dart on a map and find anywhere in America that has an obesity epidemic. And, but just a town that's thriving, growing, that has something unique about it. And obviously, the most unique thing about Corbin is it's the home of KFC. So, that is certainly it's a great point. It's an interesting note. It's certainly an identifier. The town identify with it. KFC is one of the first fast food franchises ever, and certainly one of the most successful and long lasting. And so I think that's a point. But then I think as the producers went around to the different towns to narrow them down, and what I can speak to, because I've been here for a week, is that Corbin has a beautiful heart. And this is Corbin and the surrounds, right? So it's anything up to 50 miles. So if you're in London or, any of the surrounding cities and counties, you can be included in this too. But what I've seen and witnessed is that this town, it's a small town with a big heart. And there's so much progressive thinking and Jacob, who's been, my tour guide, he has shown me so many things at like the splash pad. Splash pad is amazing, and then the beautiful field, the football field, and he has plans to build, beautiful, inclusive, adaptive playgrounds and sports for people. And there's just so much going on in this town, and I think it could be a real inspiration for other small towns. Hey, I came from a small town. I grew up in a little town called Mummlegum, which is not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And it was a very small country town. And our nearest town was very similar to the size of Corbin. It was 10,000 people. And it kind of it didn't really keep growing with the times, I mean, it got a McDonald's and a KFC, but it I Corbin is way more progressive than where I'm from. So it's like to see a town with such heart and vision, and for it to want to have its people healthier and more fit and more active. I mean, that's an attractive thing. And this TV show, it wants to come into a town and help it survive and thrive and live a better, longer, healthier, happier life.
Well, that is wonderful, of course. As you pointed out, like obesity and, I mean, if you look at cancer risk, like all kinds of health issues come, with that. So I am very excited to hear about, what you could tell us about what the show will be about and
Yeah.
what type person might be a good fit. And so I know you said 50 miles. So we're looking at London, Barberville,
Yep.
Williamsburg, the
Mhm.
Cumberland Falls. I'm sure that you will visit there if you haven't already.
Yes, we're going to see the moonbow in the next couple of days.
That I wish I was interviewing you after, but that'll be a great experience for you. And also to throw in South Park, Cartman and KFC. Like there's a storyline of Corbin in South Park. So it's very interesting to me. And I love Corbin. I don't live there, but I do love Corbin. So I think that, you picked a great place to start. So
Yeah.
what can you tell us about what's the premise for this show?
Yeah, so basically they're gonna just follow a small town as they come together in their community to improve the health and fitness and just the general healthy lifestyle of the community in general. So there's gonna be 100 people but it's going to feature the town, so the town is going to get involved. So even if there's 100 people, there'll be more than 100 people involved. The town will be involved. There will be town events. There will be community events that, everyone will come to and everyone will support. And there'll be before and after moments where, someone's come from here and then they're going to do something that's really wonderful and empowering at the end of it. These beautiful moments where people have kind of, say you have someone who gave up singing, they had 5 kids and they put on weight and they'd love to do it, but they haven't done it. They lose this weight, they get fit, they get healthy, happy and confident. And then, we put on a show and they sing a song. Like that's the dream kind of storyline that you want, and everybody has a story. Everybody, has done one thing or another and given up things for their kids or their jobs or all of that kind of thing. So basically, we're going to take 100 people. We're going to go on a journey. They're going to get all the support and help that they need. I've spoken to a lot of people in town, and some people are on GLPs. Some people have wanted to be on GLPs, but they have not been financially able to support that. So, there may be help for people in that scenario if they've wanted to do it. There's going to be a celebrity trainer. Now, this is made by the people who created Biggest Loser. It's, very much a feel-good, heartfelt, community-driven, I guess it's like a journey that they want to kind of go on with people and, and really kind of help and support them transform their lives. And we're talking like friends, we're talking family members, we're talking, buddies that you work with, maybe a sports group, it could be anyone from somebody who wants to lose 10 pounds and get back into their bikini, or someone who has 100 or more pounds. Like everything goes. And you might not need to lose a lot of weight, but maybe, your doctor's gone, look, your cholesterol's pretty awful, or you're pre-diabetic, you're diabetic. There's a lot of reasons that people might need to go on a health and fitness journey, and it's not always weight-based. And we want to hear and see all people's stories, like if you're suddenly, you're looking at having a knee replacement. What if you've got PCOS? What if you're trying to what if you're married? Well, you want to get married, or you want to have babies? And, there's a million stories of why people could, would, should, need to lose weight. And we want all of them. We want you all to apply. We want to hear all your stories, and we want to help as many people as possible. And there's going to be a knock-on effect. Even if you don't end up doing the show, like I said, there's going to be community events, but you could be a buddy of someone who's doing it. You might just end up as a workout buddy and you might get healthier because of it. The idea is to leave the town with a legacy of health, fitness, nutrition, and a lifestyle that embodies self-love and self-care.
So, this does sound very interesting and heartwarming. I can just, imagine these big moments when they've achieved something so important to them. How do you decide on 100 people? Because
Oh.
everyone has a story.
I know. Yeah, it is tough. We've found some wonderful characters, people that people are like, "Oh my gosh, you have to get blah blah. He's hilarious." And, "Oh, got to go and see blah blah over it there." And it is tough and it is a difficult decision. But here's the thing, even if you're not one of the 100, there's still going to be plenty of opportunities to get involved, to be inspired, to be educated. This trainer's a big deal. They're very well known. If they're working out in the park, people are going to know about it. People are going to come. People are going to watch. People are going to be inspired. It might be your cousin. Your cousin comes home and goes, "Let's work out together." So even though it's going to be 100 people, I think that there's going to be so many more people that benefit from this. And especially if they have like community events, like let's say there's a workout event and the whole town is invited. Like that's everybody. Everybody can attend that. So I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for the city to benefit even if there are people who aren't specifically on camera being featured.
So will someone have to, if you get to be one of the 100, is it going to be filmed in Corbin
Yeah.
exclusively, or?
I think in and around. I think there's, you have a beautiful backdrop here. You have so many amazing places around here. So I think that Corbin and the 50-mile surrounding areas will be featured because there's just so many beautiful natural backgrounds and places that, if I was a location scout, I would be hiking up every mountain, and there's a lot that you could do, that you go swimming in, or some of your beautiful swimming holes. There's a lot of things that you can do fitness wise that could feature the natural beauty of Corbin and surrounds.
Awesome. So, all right, you get to be one of the 100 people. Some people may be concerned about, will this story be scripted, even though it's reality? Will it be put together in some way that tells a story? I think some people may worry that it might not be the authentic story. So, what safeguards are in place when you talk to people about that?
Yeah, well, we're not here to script people. You're not actors, right? We're not. The very reason we're here in a town casting and talking to people is we want real people with real stories. We don't. It's not, it wouldn't it wouldn't help us to have people fake it, because you're a town that is very realistic. You know everybody. You would also know if we were faking it. Like the whole point of in a production, to come to a country town, it costs a lot of money. So, you wouldn't want to script it. Here's the thing I've learnt working in reality: truth is so much more entertaining than making something up. The beautiful thing about real people is incredible things happen. If you find the people with the heart and the story and the drive, just whatever unfolds is beautiful and thrilling, and you want to watch it, and people in other towns will relate to it, because for every guy who had a heart attack at 30 and has 4 kids, and he doesn't want to leave his wife and kids, and there's 1,000 other men sitting watching going, oh wait, maybe I can do that. That's what we want. Real people, real inspiration, real stories. It doesn't benefit us at all to make things up. And real good quality entertainment in reality TV, that's what it does. And that's what I've prided myself on. Like I've worked on shows. I look for people with heart. I've cast out Last on Netflix, and we look for real people with real stories, with real grit, naked and afraid. People who, you can send to Africa for 21 days with a pot and a knife, and they're going to survive. Like there's nothing scripted about those shows at all. Otherwise people would die.
And you love, it sounds like you love and embrace that realism, just people being who they are.
Well, I'm an author, like first and foremost, the one thing I've done my entire life is I'm a writer, and I love stories. And everywhere you look, people tell incredible stories. We've spoken to, I spoke to a widow, young mum, 4 kids, husband died 2 years ago. She's a cancer survivor, and she's just fighting for her life. She's in remission, but she's got 4 kids and she's put on weight. She wants to thrive. Like that's, you don't need to write that. That is, everybody wants to cheer her on. Everybody wants her to thrive and survive and win. And that's the story, giving these people a chance to really live their best life, not just for them, but for their kids.
So is there a certain age group that you're looking for, or is this open to everyone?
Anyone, everyone, any age, shape, like everything, right? You 10 pounds, you got 100 pounds, you got 150 pounds, you got 200 pounds. If you're, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, we don't care. We just want to hear your stories. We want to meet you. We're around town all week. You can go online to corbincasting.com, but you can also come and meet us on Thursday between 12 and 3. We're at City Hall on the second floor. You can literally just rock up and meet us. That night, we've kind of got a very low-key, casual, want to drop by to the Wrigley from, I think, 5 o'clock till about 9. So we're around town. Like we'll be outside Walmart. I think I'm heading to London on, I think, Friday. So I'll be outside Walmart at some point then. We've been at the Walmart here in Corbin. You've probably seen me wandering around, approaching you, saying, "Hey."
Yes, and actually, one of my friends who has a parrot named Echo,
Oh,
uh,
we met her at the marina.
yes, they met you and were telling me about you ahead of time. So very
We-
cool. The
We're
things,
everywhere. You can't.
yes. Well, you need to come to Barberville. So I'm going to shout out to Barberville. They do a lot
Yeah.
of great things and a lot of, like, well, there's just the river. There's a lot of different things. I think that you would also find a lot of, as you're moving forward with places to grow, this
We've met
might,
a few people. We've met a few
yeah,
people from Barberville. Yeah.
yeah. So this is really exciting. So the 100 people, will they become a unit, where they're a community together within the community? Or will the stories still be more like focused on one person this week? Or how would that work?
Well, and this is very early pre-production, so there's certain things that just haven't been worked out yet. But in the space and breadth of what I know as TV shows, certainly having hosted Biggest Loser for 4 years, there's kind of there's the bigger group, and then there'll be certain featured people, but then people might break off into groups. Maybe there'll be buddy groups, maybe there'll be groups of people who can only work out on weekends, maybe there'll be mums. Like in the realm of a television show, you might break off into different sectors and segments, just depending on who can film when and where and who relates to who. Maybe like there might be a sports group that kind of get behind their one person. So there's lots of kind of possibilities in story development to kind of go down that path. So it's hard to kind of be really finite on what it looks like at this point, because really what happens is we find the people and then you build the show around the people, right? So you find the stories and then you're like, okay, well, then how do we make this as a TV show? And, blah, blah, played D1 football, but he's let himself go, but maybe he's coaching or maybe he wants to coach. And so the local football team gets behind him and his journey. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how you build
Yes.
that out. So you start with the people and then you build the story around it. And that is really how it writes itself. That is how reality TV is made. You find the people, you find the stories, and then you tell the stories because the stories tell themselves.
Okay, so how long casting is just this week that you'll be here?
Yeah, so it's pretty quick. We've been here a week. We're leaving next Monday. So we've got the open casting call on Thursday, 12 till 3, and then the kind of one in the evening. And then we're kind of putting some people on tape at the end of the week. We're still around town. So even though we're here fast and furious, there'll still be casting that goes on after we get home because obviously people are still learning that we're here. A lot of people are like, "Are you real today?" A lot of people called me. We had a Facebook post and they're like, "Is this real? Is this?" And here's the thing I say. First of all, Mayor Susie knows we're here. We have the blessing of her in the city. And yes, I would always encourage people, if you're ever approached by anyone online, always check it. Always check. You can Google my name, Ajay Rochester. It's very easy to see that I am the real deal. You can call City Hall. We have the flyers there. They know about us. You can call Mayor Susie's office. They'll let you know that we're real. There's me and Mariah. So there's only two of us here right now. So they're the only two people that you really kind of need to hear from. Although we do have someone handing out flyers tonight, which we love. It's a friend of Jacob's, someone from the pool, which we love. And, so you can do your due diligence, but then, you can apply. Like I said, it's corbin.casting.com and you can fill it out and submit it. And we'll continue to be looking at that. Like there's a team back home in LA. They're going through all the submissions. They're having a look at people's tapes. It's really important that you do your video because that's how we kind of see people, It's like that little video that you shoot just kind of gives us a little idea of who you are and what you're like on camera. So make sure you get all of that in. If you have trouble when you're logging on to Corbin Casting, there's a little email there that, if you have any kind of technical difficulties, Alicia will help you out. But yeah, get onto it and, submit and they'll continue to cast. Right now it's very early casting, but because obviously there's another town, so it's like down to a couple of towns. listen, my heart is obviously I'm committed to Corbin. Like I am very committed, and I want you guys to win. And I think they'd be crazy to not film here. So it's really dependent on getting lots of submissions, having lots of people, having lots of stories. Having the town really kind of get behind and support it and say, yeah, we really do want you here. We do want to change. We do want to have this transformation.
Well, I cannot imagine, any negatives as to why, that it would not be like really a dream come true for any city or
Yeah, look,
small
studies have
town.
shown. Yeah, when a film crew comes, it can be 50 or more people, and that's money, that's hotels, that's budgets, that's, food, that's entertainment that, they hire locally. There'll be PAs that will be hired. We're already hiring locally. I hired somebody today, and we're hiring a photographer, and we're hiring a PA, and the town would benefit from it economically as well. So, there's really kind of no lose in this situation. It's really just win-win.
Except for weight.
Yes, that's the that is the only lose. That is the one we do want to lose. We want to lose the weight.
So when approximately, do you think shooting would begin if Corbin's the place and you got the cast and about how long is this project?
Yeah, the dream would be fall, which I hear is very popular with the football seasons. That would be the dream. Here's what happens in casting is, particularly this kind of thing is they find the town, and then they pitch the town to the network, and the network's like, yep, we want this town. Yes, we're going to greenlight it. Yes, we love it. We're going to make it. And then things move really fast. It is incredible how fast things can be pulled together. Next thing you've got crew, and someone comes to town, and they start looking at locations, and the great thing is that the producers have already been to this town. They already love this town. They already know a lot about it. So, things would move fairly rapidly.
Well, I am so excited for this. And at the end, is there like, everybody wins or
Yeah, everybody wins. Along the way, there's like prizes. There's like, you can win money and certain things. Like if anything I know, certainly about my time at Biggest Loser, there were always, companies wanting to throw money and cars and products and all sorts of things. So I would imagine there's going to be some great challenges. If I was making the show, if I was the one, I'd be like, let's have a truck pull and you win the truck. And, so like anything's possible. Obviously, again, this is in pre-production, so nothing's set in stone, but that is, there's certainly ways that people will be enriched other than just the health during the process. And, and there's a few other little surprises that they have, in store for the town, things I can't reveal, but Corbin would definitely end up way better off at the end of it than they would have, had they not done it.
awesome. Now, I know that you mentioned about your book and about body image and the struggle for weight loss for you. How does that factor into your passion for this project?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I have walked the walk. I have been big. I have been small. I have struggled. It is an eternal struggle. I understand it. I think I'm an easy person to talk to. You can share your story with me because I'm certainly not a skinny Hollywood Barbie doll, who's going to judge you. I have walked the walk. It is an eternal struggle. I've done it always. I've, had crazy, stupid diets. I've done it, sensibly. I've used GLPs more recently, which, I'm 56. I couldn't lose it. Like I put on a lot during COVID and I couldn't lose it. And, then I found out I was insulin resistant and I started taking a GLP-1 and I'm still doing the work. I'm still working out. I usually get on my bike at home, but I've been walking and I do my steps and, it's not just a kind of it's not an instant fix. You still have to do the work. And, so I understand it. You can tell me anything and I'm a safe space. And I certainly know how different I've felt when I'm heavy and I'm overweight and I'm unhealthy to when I'm healthy. And when I'm healthy, I am happier. And, and it's not because of my body. It's just because I am more fit. I'm more active. I live a more active lifestyle and I probably look after myself better. And kind of leans itself towards to better mental health. But, I believe that everybody should be happy in every shape. I've been very loud and say everybody is beautiful. I'm not into fat shaming. This is not what this is about. And, this has some great heart, and I wouldn't do it. I've been very vocal about fat shaming in the media, and I wouldn't be here if I thought that this was it. And people can Google me and find that out about me.
So, over your career with casting, is there a moment that like stands out when you first met someone that was funny or heartfelt? Or, I mean, I'm sure you have
Oh.
tons of them, but
I mean, it's every day, but there are times where, on Great Christmas Light Fight, it's on ABC, and we showcase, the best Christmas displays, not always the best either, just some great stories, some of the just most wonderful Christmas displays across America. And one family every episode wins $50,000. But more importantly, a lot of people do their Christmas displays to raise money for charities that they have been affected by. Some people are want to rescue local shelter dogs. Other people are Make-A-Wish Foundation because they've been affected by it. And one of the beautiful things about the show is it really shines a light on some of those charities. And even the money alone winning, people love it. It's $50,000. It can be life-changing. But people just being on the show and sharing their story and sharing their why and helping raise money and awareness for their charities. We have a young kid, Jordan Maywald. He won his episode. He was our youngest ever contestant, and he has raised, I think it's nearly $300,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation since he's been on the show, and that is, that you can't take that away from us. It's not us, it's him. But you know, we've had people who were donating $1,000, $2,000 to their local rescue shelter, and in a year they were on the show, they raised over $50,000. So it's those stories and being able to make a difference for me that I love the most from my job. And that's who I am. I've always been that person. I did walk the Great Wall of China to build a cancer wellness center, that Olivia Newton-John championed her, may she RIP. And, it's just who I am. And I always want to work on shows that have a heart. And this one does. And I want to show Corbin's heart. And I feel like I've seen it in the week that I've been here, and I can't wait to tell everyone's stories.
so for the people listening that may still be like, I have this heart, I have this goal, but I'm too far gone. I have a disability. I have gained too much weight. So, what do you say to the people that really embrace this but are caught up in thinking there's no hope?
Yeah, I mean, I was once over 300 pounds, and and I felt like it was too impossible. And one of the things that I learnt that I talked about in my book was, it's that joke of how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And I used to joke, fake it till you make it, right? Act like a healthy person until you become a healthy person. And that is what I did. I took, it wasn't even a day at a time. Sometimes I just took it an hour at a time because I was so addicted to food, to salt, sugar, and fat. I was such an emotional eater that it was an hourly battle. Just get through the hour, just get through the next hour, get to snack time. And when I broke it down and I stopped worrying about the end goal, it was much easier to celebrate the small achievements. And that's the thing, you're not going to lose 200 pounds in 4 months, but in 4 months, you're going to learn about exercise. You're going to learn about your body. You're going to learn how to move. You're going to learn that you can move. You're going to learn that you can do things that you never thought that you could do. You're going to find buddies. You're going to have a buddy system instead of sitting at home, kind of binge eating something that, because you're lonely. You're going to have friends. You're going to have people who are going to be like, hey, let's meet up in the water. so that we don't have to move on land and we can float. Because that was in my weight loss journey in my book, Confessions of a Reformed Dieter, I went on a diet and I was like, that's it. And in my first week, I fell down 17 stairs and I shattered my leg and ended up in a wheelchair. And the doctor said to me that I would always walk with a limp and I would never run. And that very next week, I got a waterproof cast. I got in the pool. I swam every single day for the 8 weeks that it took for the cast to come off. I got into physiotherapy. And 1 year later, I did a 15-kilometer fun run, which I don't know how many miles that is. I have no idea. Whatever that is, I did a 15-kilometer fun run and I did it. And I was just like, you can't tell me I'll never run because I just ran. And I would not have ever believed that I could have done it, and I did it. And that's, you know, the thing. You're gonna, no matter what you do, how little you do, even if you do a little, you'll be better off than having done nothing.
Yeah, and I would think that once you start to see, some small gains, that will give you confidence to keep going.
Oh, it does. It's amazing. It's just the small things, It's like just the repetition will help you form habits, and you don't even, in 21 days you're like, "Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Now I want to go walking. Now I don't want a cigarette." Or, it's just incredible. The body and the mind can transform by the simple act of repetition. And if you're just not thinking about the end goal and just thinking about right now, what can I do right now? Let me get up right now and take 10 steps. That's all I need to do. Okay, I'm going to take 10 steps 10 times a day. Listen, we had a contestant. I love this contestant. His name was Bob. He actually came over to America and was featured. Jillian brought him over for Biggest Loser and featured him on her show over here. And Bob was our oldest ever contestant. And he was ruled by his doctor. He had a heart condition and he could not run. He was not allowed to run. So he walked. He walked, and I call him the man of perpetual motion. He just walked. Whenever he was around, whenever we were waiting for challenges, whenever we were waiting to film, he just walked. Walked, 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 walked. He never ran. He never, did crazy, ridiculous exercise. And he was big. And he won. He won our Biggest Loser. And he was such an inspiration because he had given up. He had thought that he couldn't do it, and that he was just going to kind of sit around and wait until he died. And now he's still fit. He's still healthy. He's still kicking. He's got grandkids, and, he's just living an incredibly inspiring life. And I think anyone can do it. There's chair yoga. There's, you can do yoga in the water. Don't be discouraged by your abilities or your different abilities or your disabilities. There's something for everyone.
And oftentimes it's your own mind that holds you back from.
Oh, absolutely. If you've kind of lived a limited life and you've not really learnt how to believe in yourself, it's really hard. But that's kind of where the fake it till you make it comes in. Like I was never a sports kid. I was a nerd. I was writing stories. I was on the school newspaper trying to get out of having to do sport at school. No one ever told me I was good at anything. And so, I tried new things and I started playing soccer and I lost so much weight playing soccer. And I found out I was actually pretty good at it. Look, I'm not going to go to the Olympics, but I was good enough to be on a team and I was good enough to go up a division. And it changed my life because I'd never been a team sports girl and I became a crazy team sports girl. Loved it.
Well, I can only imagine the joy that you feel seeing the end result and knowing that your conversation with a person early on, like your skill in casting, got that person into the place where they could achieve. So kudos to you for that.
Mm.
And, for this show. I'm really just very excited about it. Any last words for, what you need, what type of people? I know you mentioned besides the people with the heart, trying to achieve whatever that is, that you need, other people as well. So what all can people apply for?
Yeah, well, so listen, even if you know someone, and maybe they're a little shy, you can nominate them and be like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to put you up for this. Let me put you up for this." You can nominate someone as well. A lot we've had a few people going, "I'm nominating my brother. Give him a call." And they'll be like, "Hey, listen, you're going to get a call." But anyone, just anyone, don't think that you don't need to be, don't think that you need to be something. You are enough. Just all you need to do is want to change your life for the better. That's it. That's all you need. And we will do the rest. Just trust us and we will do the rest. And don't worry about how or why or even if you can do it. You just need to want to do it and trust us with the rest. Go to corbincasting.com, corbincasting.com. You can also come see us Thursday, 12 to 3, City Hall, second floor. We're at the Wrigley that night. And then we're going to be around town the next few days. We'll update the Facebook post. I think a lot of people have seen a Facebook post that was put on by the city
Yes.
today. So, we'll update you where we're going, where you can meet, catch up with us. So, and you can call City Hall and be like, "Hey, where are they today?" We'll tell you where we are today because tomorrow morning we're going to the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and then after that we'll probably scoot around town somewhere. We may even head over to the London Walmart. We might head over there, but just check. We'll post on the Facebook page where we're headed. You can kind of come up and see us. And, my number's on the Facebook page. So you can call me. Someone just called me right now. Someone messaged me right now. Aaron. Aaron just messaged me. Aaron, I'll call you back in a minute. So, yeah, I'm here. You can call me, you can text me. Text is better because obviously there's a lot of calls coming in. So, I might not be able to answer because I'm on the phone to someone else, but text me and I'll call you back.
Yeah, so I want to go ahead and get the episode, hopefully tomorrow so that we can, everyone can hear all of this before you're like gone. But if you could send a photo or something, like holding your signs or whatever you look like,
Yeah, we'll do
we'll
that.
post it with the episode and people will be like, I got to find her. Hey, there you go. That could be a little like a scavenger hunt,
Where's Wally?
yeah, where's AJ?
I love that. Yeah, I'm going to text you a photo right now.
Well, where you are tonight is on Backstory Sessions, and this has been so fun and so inspiring. And I now feel like I understand, what this is going to play out like. And so I'm super excited. And it's been wonderful to talk with you and hear your story as well.
Yeah, look, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And everybody's been so loving and so welcoming. And we're truly, truly grateful. And we really are here with absolute hearts of gold, wanting nothing but the best for the town.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great success. And I'm just really appreciate you coming by and everybody out there, the listeners, go out and find AJ and tell your story, achieve your dream. Thank
Yay!
you.